Spending time with family is usually the best part of Christmas, but for some the day can be a struggle this year, as it could be their first Christmas without a loved one. Offering some advice on how to get through the day, Helena Dolny joins me now via Zoom. She's an author and the co-founder of Love, Legacy, Dignity, an organization that focuses on conversations about life, death and grief. Helena, thank you so much for your time. This will be a tough festive season for many people. How best to cope with a first Christmas without your mom, your dad, your brother, your husband or wife?
Good morning, Tafuma, and to viewers. And yeah, for all those who've lost loved ones this year, and this is going to be a hard Christmas. The thing I think to do is to bring them into your life. Don't try and pretend that they've gone. You loved them and they live on within you. They shaped who you've become. So make the person present in your life. Try and remember what was important to them. Perhaps cook a dish which was their favorite dish. Remember their rituals of what they liked at Christmas. And yes, someone leaving means that you as a family can create new rituals, but perhaps there's one thing that you choose which was important for them. And please talk about the person. A friend of mine said that when her father died, no one wanted to speak, and yet she wanted to speak. And it's true that we all grieve differently, but if we can be compassionate and kind to each other and meet each other halfway, and storytelling and acknowledging grief and pain, it heals us. It's really important that the pain that we are experiencing is acknowledged by others. Yeah.
Helena, grief is unique to the individual. Different people will grieve in different ways. Explain why it's important to acknowledge that.
So it's very important to acknowledge how differently. There's a saying that says grief is like a fingerprint, as unique as a fingerprint. And there are no stages. There used to be a feeling that there was a recipe, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and it's not like that. It's more like being in a washing machine and being jumbled around. And there can be a photo, a piece of music, something which will trigger grief. And some people may move through grief very quickly. You may know people who got married again very quickly, and there has to be no judgment. We all have different ways of grieving, and it doesn't mean that you didn't love a person less for the fact that you find a way forward of moving through your life. Grief moves through you and you move through grief. And it's not about getting over it, it's about moving along with it and respecting differences.
Some people might feel guilty about enjoying this time of the year now that there is that loved one missing. What's your advice for those people?
I think it's hard to feel guilty because it's not a very positive emotion. But I think if we can think that our loved ones would not have wanted us to be miserable, and that if we can laugh, laughing itself is healing. And sometimes I wish that perhaps I could sit around with friends and say, can you remember some of my late husband's favorite jokes? Because he was a great joke teller. And that would be a connecting experience. But I don't think our loved ones would want us to be miserable. So if we could just put away that feeling and know that self-care is important. And so looking after ourselves, doing things which are enjoyable, things that are supportive. Yeah.
If you have friends, for example, or family members who've lost a loved one, how can you support them through this time?
I think acknowledging their grief is so important. If you can send them a message, if you can have a phone call, if you can send them a photograph, if you can share a memory with them. So I know this is your first Christmas, it must be hard for you. I'm remembering when. So anything that actually brings the person into the present and acknowledges the relationship with that person and acknowledges the pain, all of that is so helpful.
Some people are a bit reluctant to do that because they feel that they're then, in a way, rubbing salt in the wound by bringing up the person who's gone away. And you're saying that's not the case.
So I don't think it's the case. And perhaps if you are feeling that it might rub salt into wounds, then maybe you do something more gently, just send a message thinking of you, a photograph of a flower or a beautiful thing from nature. Yeah. That you are being sensitive and respecting the other person as well. But acknowledgement is important. I remember on the anniversary of my husband's death, I used to get messages on my phone just thinking of you. And it was beautiful and made me feel supported through my grief, even if I didn't actually talk to that person on the day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, well, you know, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to bring this person back, so let me not say anything. But like you're saying, just a message to check in will be enough to let that person know they have your support and you're thinking of them. Helena, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. Helena Dolny, the co-founder of Love, Legacy and Dignity, talking to us about making it through the festive season after losing a loved one.